Hi guys, Mrs. Smith here again. Hope you're enjoying the story The Last Wild. I'm here to read you part 6. Part 6 is called Welcome to the City. I'm going to read you chapter 1 and 2. The next morning, as we begin our journey again, it feels like the dark forest will go on forever. Every single one of us still calling as loud as it can, when we are suddenly pushing through the thorns and twigs into an open field. Underneath the weight of Polly and me, the stag pants for breath. He's growing weaker by the hour. Every now and then his back shudders or he trips, groaning in pain as he does. But what we can all see is that beyond the hedge, at the edge of the field, there is a cliff, and below the cliff, a road. At the end of the road, lying spread out beneath us, like someone whipped away the carpet of green, is a plain of buildings and bridges, signs and billboards and barriers, all leading to one place. A forest of green towers, rising out of the ground, like they were forced up from the earth's crust. Towers with domed roofs and red lights, blinking like eyes through the cloud. Rows of windows glittering from top to bottom, glowing homes and offices and factories of more people than have ever lived together before on this planet. Lights that are always on, pulsing day and night, rays and beams reflecting off the glass roofs and walls, rising up into the sky above, brighter than even the stars themselves. My head is swirling like the swollen clouds in the sky above. I don't know if what Ma said about Dad is true. I don't even know if we will find him here, and even if we do, whether or not he will have a cure. I know that I'm taking these animals to the most dangerous place I could, but for now, for this one moment, looking down over the glass and lights, none of that matters because I realise that after all this time, I'm finally coming home, to where I belong, to where everything started. Premium, my city. Before we go any further, I count all the animals. One stag, very tired. One wolf cub, the least tired animal in the whole world, according to him. One large cockroach in my pocket, asking why I didn't take a roll call before now. One harvest mouse, still doing the stationary dance of very long sleep. 99 grey pigeons, although hard to count exactly as they keep moving around all the time. One white pigeon, who has just started singing again, on his own, now everyone else has stopped. Other birds, nicer sounding than pigeons, about 12 in total. 2 otters, still wet even though we left the river hours ago. Do they ever dry off? 1 brown hare, very old, and assorted rabbits. 6 polecats, 4 pine martens, a red squirrel, good for nuts, a toad, really likes Polly, a hedgehog, keeps himself to himself, lots of flies and butterflies, different kinds, haven't had time to ask them all their names, not as many wasps, various bats, who do like flying during the day, beetles, earwigs, etc. Wolf cub refuses to carry them. Well, over 100 animals, nearly as many as the wild we left in the ring of trees. Not every animal died. A breeze blows in over the top of the cliff, ruffling our hair, making me dig my hands inside my pockets for warmth. Over there, among the towers and lights, there are other people, working, living, and, in the middle of it all, somewhere, Dad. I hope. I pull my scarf tight around me as the wind starts to grow stronger. Together we all slide down a path zigzagging along the side of the cliff towards Premium's outskirts. Polly puts her hand in front of her face, against the wind. The toad waddles off her lap to shelter behind her back. This wind has grown cold as well as strong. It feels like it's stripping the skin off your face. With every step it gets harder and harder to walk into, but at last we reach the bottom of the cliff. There's no shelter down here, nothing but bare earth and chunky chips of gravel, the wind blowing clouds of dust along the top, between us and the wire fence which surrounds the city. I look over the wasteland at the brightly lit windows of the towers, normal people living normal lives. I can see some of them, distant figures silhouetted in the window frames. Perhaps the wolf cub can even smell them. All the animals go very quiet. I stroke the stag's dripping flank. He's so warm even in this chill wind. Up above, the birds, old and new, are tossed about in the air. The general digs around inside my pockets, hiding from the gale. I look at the wolf cub. He stands next to the stag and me, eyes narrowed, but the wind is pushing at his lips, pulling them back, blowing his fur and ears flat. I've never known wind like this. This must be the coldest wind in the world. We will defeat it though. It is only wind. But just as we start to see the towers close up, the shapes of the domed roofs and the gleaming walls, the stag sinks to the ground, throwing us off in a jumble. Picking myself up, I can see his legs splayed out, his horns resting on the ground. What's wrong? He shakes his head, breathing like he's trying to steady himself, and mumbles something hard to hear above the wind. His side and brow are boiling up. The others crowd round, looking. Shaking, I press the button on my watch. Squeezing out the very last of the faint light left in its battery, I shine it into his eyes. Eyes which now burn a deep, pulsing red. How long have you known? I asked the stag. I had it from the start, when I first called, when I summoned you, he whispered. But your eyes, they look brown, you didn't say. The eyes are a late sign, as you know. He rolls his up at me. And if I had told you I was ill, would you have accepted our quest? Would you have let me carry you here? The harvest mouse, who had been clinging onto his horns, jumps off. When the others in my nest were starving, when they were... She pauses, gulps at the memory. We used to do something. I don't know if it would help now, but this is no time for a dance, Mouse. She looks hurt. I would never suggest a dance at this time like this. What kind of self-respecting harvest mouse do you think you take me for, my lad? She scratches her nose crossly with her claws. No, if you'd keep your thoughts in your head for just a single moment, we help them like this. And she hurries up the stag's leg and onto his chest. The deer gives a low grumble, but doesn't shake her off, as slowly, not missing a single bit, the mouse begins, with claws and teeth, to remove all the mud and thorns and twigs twisted in his fur. I look round at the others. The stag is lying stretched out, surrounded by a circle of woodland animals. Apart from the wolf cub, who sits up right behind me, he whispers in the dark, normally this would be my chance to avenge the stag for the death of my father. I should tear his dying carcass to pieces. The cub sounds matter of fact, but I will not, for now, out of respect for you, Wildness. I turn on him. He's not dying, he's okay. He's not dying, he's okay. The wolf cub shrinks away, cowering. I turn back to the stag. You didn't say anything, why didn't you? It makes no odds now. I've survived longer than I expected. I've carried you here as the dream said I would. The wind hits in rolling gusts like jabs in the side, each one making us flinch. Now you must go on and leave me here. Take the others, find your father, and find us a cure. Find us all a cure. Hurry. I glance up at the darkening, brooding sky. There is no way I'm leaving you here, not after everything. All of that is meaningless unless you find us a cure. I will rest here until you return. I thump my fist into the ground, spraying him with a burst of loose soil. We can't leave you here, on the edge of the city. Who knows what could happen? Anyone could find you, colours or worse. You're not well enough for us to leave you on your own. You will go faster without me. Then what's the point of it all? Telling me to be the Wildness, telling me to make decisions, to take charge, and then when I do, you don't listen. We can't leave you here, you'll die. Maybe, Wildness, says Wolf Cub, nervous. I will turn on him. That is what he wants. But it's not what I want. He can look after himself. He's taken care of us all the way, hasn't he? Says Polly, touching me on the back. The others begin to drift even further away from the stag, towards the light, as if they've already made their decision. I kneel down by him again. He's so weak I have to really strain to hear him. You are a good Wildness. I've trained you well, but you must trust me now. This is the right thing to do. Foamy mucus drips out of his mouth onto the ground. The only thing to do. I stroke his soft, wet nose and chipped horns. He's carried me so far. I didn't have anything before I met the stag, and now... Oh, yes, you did, Kester, he murmurs, a glimmer of smile in his burning eyes. Just promise me, I say, trying to ignore my tears, that you'll be all right, and I promise we'll come back and find you, and we'll make you better. He grunts, then his tone changes just like the wind. Go now, before a storm comes. Go. I need no further telling. I touch his warm head once more, stand up and turn around to face the city fence. As I do, my watch vibrates with a last spasm of energy. I glance down and have to strain to see two words, only just visible on the dying screen. Give up. I turn the watch up. Give up? That is one thing I am not doing, whoever or whatever is trying to tell me. I feel so full of fire, but I don't think a whole regiment of colours could stop me now. The world is waiting. Beyond the fence there are towers, lights, people and machines. Everything that used to feel normal, and now I don't know how it will feel. But without waiting another second, I start striding towards the fence, Polly hurrying behind me. Where are you going, Kester? Wait, you can't just walk into Premium with 100 animals. Watch me. We enter the city through a hole in the fence blown open by the wind. Then we're sneaking along alleyways, striding under shady bridges spattered with graffiti, breathing in as we slide along the narrow gaps in between buildings. Only Wolf Cub keeps up with me as if we leave the last of the countryside behind us. Now we march up a white concrete ramp which rises through the forest of towers and twists and turns on high pillars, raised above more wasteland far below, over slums filled with rickety sheds, caravans and piles of rubbish. Steam and other smell rises up, the smell of something oily that makes me gag, and the general's antennae twitch eagerly. Then the road swoops down again into the city proper, taking us along wide streets lined with grey old-fashioned buildings with tattered flags dangling outside and small withered trees in pots standing in rows like guards. We come to a sprawling block of shops and their never-ending windows. The old hare stops for a moment and peers at his reflection in them, gawping at the faded and peeling signs plastered across the giant walls of glass. No more shops as the road leads into the heart of the city, just the towers we saw from the cliff, shining glass skyscrapers that climb into the clouds, each one home to thousands of people, the very top floors soaring high above even the pigeons. How do people live there? We couldn't fly that high. Yes, how do people fly up that high? Where is everyone, Kester asked Polly, looking around at the deserted streets. I thought Premium would be full of people. It is, but people frightened of animals, frightened of the plague they carry, perhaps people who had never seen a living one before now. As we walk past the towers, there are pale faces pressed to ground floor windows, blinds hurriedly slammed down, lit rooms go dark as we pass. Headlights approach us, making the polecat start in alarm, but when the drivers see the animals, they brake and reverse quickly or dive down a side street out of our way. Ha! None dare approach the mighty cockroach warrior, says a general from my shoulder. We continue down the street, past a silent government building that looks like a locked box, and over a bridge taking us over the river, early morning mist still curling along it, hiding the ships and cranes more along its edge. The River Ams, the river that was once a fish road, the fish road that splits Premium in two, between the new half and the old half, where I once lived with Mum and Dad. We stop to catch our breath, the animals peering through the bars at the bridge at the water flowing below. I look out further, to my right, where way down along the opposite bank, 4 tall and dark chimneys stick up through the fog. I can't help but shiver, seeing them again for the first time in 6 years, the 4 towers of Victoria. But we aren't going there. After the bridge we turn left, then left, left again, to where there are no towers of any kind, just a street with houses to set back from it at the top of long drives, sealed off behind fences and walls and cameras and lamps that come on as you walk past. The wind seems to have followed us, curling down the roads, and now it's not just a cold wind, but a wet one as well. We all look up at the clouds in the sky as spots of rain begin to explode in my hands, the rain that can mean only one thing. The drops grow bigger and colder and wetter as we go past the line of cars, raindrops now speckling the dark windscreens and shiny bonnets. I start to hurry, half running, Polly pulling her t-shirt over her head like a hood, trying to keep up as we turn at a polished curb into a big circle of a dead end. My street, it's my cul-de-sac as Mum used to call it. I know I should wait for the others, but I start to run. Kester, yells Polly, where are you going? Wait for us. I'm not listening to her. All I can hear is the blood pounding in my head, the rain hammering on the pavement. I glance at the different names of the houses flashing by on their shiny letterboxes, trying not to slip on the pavement, growing slicker and wetter under my feet, until I reach the gates right at the end. The gates of a low white house standing on its own, the sheets of water bouncing off the glass roof that slides down one side into the garden. Everything is just as it was 6 years ago. There are no lights on apart from the security lamps along the drive, like it's a runway. I feel like a tiny kid again. Not for the first time. I wonder whether Dad is actually going to be pleased to see me. Shall I come with you? Polly stopped a little way behind. She's struggling to make her voice heard over the wind and the rain. I shake my head, spraying wet everywhere. I have to do this by myself. I wipe as much water as I can off a small metal box on the wall next to the gate and type the code into the keypad. Nothing happens. I try again, wiping more water off, pressing harder this time, and to my relief the gate slithers noisily back. He hasn't changed the code. It's only a small thing, I know, but it makes squelching up the long drive in the glow of the security lights easier than I thought it would be. Because there's a knot in my stomach, tangling up, growing warm in my belly. I find myself pulling up my trackies, trying to flatten my hair despite the rain, wiping the worst of the mud off my face, straightening my sodden scarf. Here I finally am, 6 years later, standing on the doorstep of our own home in the rain with a girl and over 100 animals. I count to 10 and press the doorbell. It rings but no one comes. I press it again. Then a light comes on at the end of the hall. I can hear him coming down the passage. Another light, a shadow appears behind the frosted glass, and all I'm thinking is, open the flipping door. A rattle and clunk of locks, a chain slides back, the door opens and, hello, childrens, says Captain Scaldis. Well, this is a nice surprise, and how do you do? And everything goes black.